to do with identity. Who am I? It's a perplexing problem because everything in this, in the phenomenal universe, in our material world, has to do with us working with that which we can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. But identity has to do with who's experiencing all that, who is the seer, not what is seen. Even in the physical world, you can't see yourself. You can't look at yourself. You can look in the mirror, but you're seeing a reflection of yourself. You can't see your own face. Even more difficult when we talk about, or when you think about the fact that the seer is invisible. It doesn't have a form. It doesn't have a name. And these are things that we find out when we meditate. These things should never be taken by intellect or philosophy. In Asian philosophy, they talk about it as the negative path to God. We can't go after spirit directly. We have to get rid of everything that is not it. And the only thing that remains is our identity. You can't get rid of your true identity. That's the only thing that's going nowhere. I love there's an analogy, I don't know if it's an analogy or a metaphor. Many years ago I saw a bit, it was by Laurel and Hardy, or maybe it was Abbott and Costello. Did you ever hear of that? Yeah. Okay. They were at a dinner party, and they were served what is that called? It has artichokes. They'd never seen an artichoke before. So they were like, well, what do you do? So they started pulling the leaves off. And they kept pulling it off until there was nothing left. And the bit was, okay, so there's nothing to eat there, And it's kind of like that. You pull off everything, just keep pulling everything away, and then there's nothing there anymore. And that nothing is being. In Buddhism, sometimes they call it emptiness. There's different words for it, but there's no word. But we have to talk about it, and that's how we talk about it. We could call it emptiness, you could call it being. I call it presence sometimes. The point of moment point, I've seen it referred to as that. It's all the same thing, which is just the pure existence. So that's what we're doing. And also it's a fight for our life, really, because our minds are so out of control, and our minds are all over the place, and we don't have training, we don't understand how crucial that is. We can see it with our bodies. We can see that when we don't exercise, what happens. But the mind also is like a psychic muscle. Well, in fact, Stewart talks about it a lot of times as being in a gymnasium, and so you're working out, your psychic muscles. Without training, then the thoughts, the mind. When we talk about mind, the thoughts are are really the easiest connection with the subtler dimensions. Are out of control, and I mean, isn't it from our thoughts that everything comes? I mean, you decide what you're going to do based on what your mind tells you. We speak based on our thoughts, and there's all kinds of consequences, good and bad, from all of that. And you would think that it's something that's really crucial. So a lot of times, what happens with almost all the time, because people don't have the training, is what happens comes out of their conditioning, out of their patterns, out of the habitual way that the individual relates to the world. And it's like software. It's just going to keep playing out kind of like the same way, not exactly like software, but similar analogy. And the identity is not functioning. What we need to do is when the mind is trained, and we can focus, we learn how to focus and keep the focus. That's control. And what we do in practice is because our minds are not trained, that we keep bringing the focus back. And you keep bringing it back, because to not do that is basically give up on our life. It's really that serious. And if we give up on our life, then how can we be any use to the people around us that we care about? And the world in general also. Or to ourselves, worst of all. So in the same way, when you take all the leaves away from the artichoke and there's nothing there, we let go of the thoughts and keep coming back to focus. We let go of the body, the mind and the body. And what's left is just something that there's no name for, but it's pure consciousness, pure being. And to me, that's what it's about. Now, by doing that, the energy is trained. So in Qigong, which means mind, Qi is energy, and Gong means training. Qigong is considered an energy practice. Well, by training the mind, you train the energy. And by having that, being able to focus, then, and it's not a tight focus, it's just, there's no muscles, it's a total, just being able to focus. It's not anything that you do. Then the energy that is comes from being is able to accomplish our life. Why are we here? And that comes through in a more pure way, so that you get less of a mixed kind of a result. If the mind is disordered, then we're going to get all kinds of different kinds of results and consequences that were not intended. Because in the end, we are responsible for our life 100%. And by doing a training like this, we can gradually get more, accomplish more of why we're here, the reason why we're here in this world. Okay, so I don't have any more time. Any questions or comments?